Hello folks and welcome back to the channel. This is my November 2025 recap video where I'll be looking at a couple of the highlights of last month as well as my top 5 games played. But to kick us off, let's quickly check the stats for last month. So I ended up playing 50 games, 50 different games, and that was across 75 different plays. Arkham Horror remains as our top played game, although we didn't get to it as much this month as we had in the last couple of months, but still absolutely loving it. We've just kicked off the Circle Undone campaign, which is a lot of fun. The first scenario for that was caught us off guard, and it's really interesting what they did there. But yeah, we continue to love the series, so that is staying high. Other than that, it's been a pretty good month for plays, more than I thought, but the last week of the month was a bit of a dry spell. We've got a lot going on from a personal perspective with our jobs or me studying. So we did have, I think, like 6 days in a row of just no games being played, which is very unlike us. But it's been very stressful, but things are looking a bit better now. And so hopefully going to December, we'll have more plays, more consistent plays, shall I say. But yeah, so I guess we'll just get into the first of my 5 highlights of this month just gone. So the first highlight is a kind of small one. It remains related to the BG Stats app, but there's a function on that app where you can do a heat map. And every game you play builds together into a nice little grid of the year, and the colours change the more games you play on a specific day, for example. And I set myself a kind of low-key challenge a couple of years ago that I would get the entire year filled up with just plays between me and my wife, so just 2-player games, just the two of us, and try and get every day. And I say I came up with this a couple of years ago. You think I'd have it done by now, because it should only take, what, a year? But we had a few things that mixed in with that caused problems. So there was obviously leap year. We had to wait for one of those to come along to get the 29th of February. And then there was just some miscommunication, or we were busy when we didn't expect to be and didn't get around to playing a game. So it's actually taken us, I think, 2.5, 3 years to get it done. But November 23rd was the last day. It was on our calendar, circled in red, like, we have to play a game this day. And luckily, it turned out we had a nice quiet Saturday, just the two of us. And we ended up playing about 6 or 7 games that day. But yeah, it was just nice. And it's on the screen now, you can see it. But it's just so nice to get that grid completely filled in. No empty squares at all for just the two of us playing games together, which was just sort of how we started. Or at least I started really getting into the hobby. Was just playing 2-player games with my wife in the early days. So yeah, it's just nothing amazing. But for me, it was just nice to finally get that challenge ticked off. A couple of our friends are into the video game Frostpunk, and they knew that we owned the board game version. Now, me and my wife have only ever played it once. It was about 18 months ago. And although we really enjoyed it, it's just one of those games that if you leave it too long, it takes a bit of a relearn, and it's a table hog and all sorts of other excuses not to play what I think is a really, really good game. But they'd seen it on our shelves and were keen to play it. So we decided to make a day where it just turned out that we ended up planning a couple of really miserable really miserable themed depressing games. So we booked a Saturday. It turned out to be a miserable day, which was great for theme, and we played the first session of Frostpunk together as a 4-player. And I have to say, it shines so much better at 4-player than 2. Trying to only playing 2 of the characters, but having to worry about the 4 sheets between 2 people. It's a bit more to juggle. It was really nice that we all had our own role. We had our own sort of set of boards in front of us that we were responsible for. Although it's a co-op and you're all working together, making decisions together, you become that person when that task is affected in some way. So I really, really liked that. And then we did play a couple of small cheer up games in between, along with grabbing some food for lunch and dinner and so on. But after Frostpunk, we went into Dead of Winter. And I think what was funny about the day is me and my friends joked about keeping on theme so much that we were trying to convince my wife to have the door open all day. I think if it wasn't raining, maybe we could have pushed for it. But we wanted we were playing Frostpunk and Dead of Winter, 2 stark, chilling, cold themed games, and we just thought it would be funny if we were just all sat up in the games room, wrapped up in multiple coats, hats, and stuff. But they weren't willing to go that deep on the role play aspect of those 2 games, which is a shame. But other than that, it was a really, really good day. We did play some lighter fare in between a couple of games I will talk about later on in this video. But yeah, it was like depressing con 2025, picking those 2 massive titles. I think I was between 5 and 6 hours of gaming just for those 2 games. Yeah, that was good fun somehow. Partway through November, we joined a group of friends and headed down to our local game store, Dice in Portsmouth, who had their annual birthday bash. The same group of us went last year, and we were keen to return again this year. Although the friends we went with, they come over here and play games on a semi-regular basis, it was nice to sort of sit down at a decent-sized table and be joined by a whole bunch of other people. The store was full to the brim, and we're all sat there with our party hats on. And being a 6-player count for the night, it meant we sort of leaned more into the party games that we don't always play. So we played Cockroach Poker, we played Skull, we tried Dice Throne Season 1, which I did not get on with, and we played Wavelength, which was so... the team I was on, absolutely blitzing it, and we got to 9 points, and then just did a McLaren and just started throwing away round after round after round and ended up losing the game. I think it was 12-10 in the end. The other team, well deserved, they came from really far behind, and we just decided, here's the victory, we don't want it. So that was probably my highlight of the night, actually. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, the staff there are great. I love going down to Dice, either on a quiet day with family or these sort of birthday meetups and that. And we ended up coming away with a decent pile of games as well. They always have stacks of games put out on the tables as gifts. I think it's all included in the ticket price, but we came home, we came home with about 5 or 6 games, and we divided those into 3 different piles because we were a group of 3 couples, so each couple took away a load of games. So we got like 5 or 6 games each. That's an impressive number of games to walk away with. We haven't got stuck into any of them yet. We've learned so many new games this month, and I just don't have the brain power to learn anymore. I think I just stopped learning about 2/3 of the way through the month. But yeah, so that'll be some interesting games that will get covered on the channel in the near future that we got from that as well. But yeah, great night, great party night. Games, I guess. Another big highlight for me in the month of November was the duo behind the GetIntoGames podcast invite me on to an episode to talk about the games we had just played about 3 days earlier, which was lovely. Playing games is fantastic. It's always fun, but getting to talk to the people you've played with and then reflect on your first impressions and your experiences of playing together just takes it up a notch. So I was over the moon that they invited me on to talk about the experiences I had. So we had a games day where we ended up learning some big games together, playing some new ones. In fact, I think there was only one game on of the 8 we played that day. I think Quacks of Quedlinburg was the only game we all knew how to play before that day. Like all 4 of us knew how to play it. But we played some small card games. We played some big things like Oath and Covenant. But it was just nice to get on the podcast. I always say on this channel how I love to talk about board games. So if somebody else says, come on a podcast and talk about board games, it's a win for me. Why would I not do that? And it's the 3rd podcast I've been to. I love doing it. I get a little bit anxious. You probably listen to it and you'll hear in the first 10 minutes I'm a bit nervous and a bit quiet, but then I just completely open up. It's the same with these videos that I film as well. There's many takes beforehand that do not make the cut where I am and then I just start rambling like I am now. But I think it was episode 60 of their podcast, the GetIntoGames podcast. If you go and check out not just my episode, I urge you to go and listen to the whole series. It is a crazy man rambling while his wife tries to control things. It's a lot of fun just listening to those two together anyway. But the fact that they talk about board games as well, it's just adds to it. They're really good friends of mine, but that's not what I'm pushing towards them. It's just a good board game podcast if you need a new one to listen to. And I did love being invited on their show. That was really nice of them to do that for me. So yeah, big highlight for the month. My final highlight of November is the recent announcement from Fantasy Flight Games and Asmodee regarding Arkham Horror, the living card game, Chapter 2. So I started getting to Arkham about 2-3 years ago. I brought the core stuff, really wanted to see what it was all about. Tried to get my wife into it, but she wasn't really keen. So I conceded from that point that it would just be a nice solo game. And I did a lot of two-handed solo through the early stuff. Thankfully, she took another punt on it at the beginning of this year, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just a different investigator, it just clicked with her, and she loves it as much as I do now. And we are both powering through the campaign boxes. We've also started again with our friends from the very beginning and got them into it. So we've had some 4-player stuff going on. Thankfully, my addictive personality meant that I was buying campaign boxes and investigator boxes when I perhaps financially shouldn't have. So we've got to the point of I have one box missing from our collection. So yeah, I mean, that shows we absolutely, this year it's just been Arkham, Arkham, Arkham. Really, really love the system. Really, really love the stories, and I just love sitting down and playing through scenarios with my wife. It's an absolute joy. So chapter 2, I'm a little sad that the chapter 1 stuff has kind of been cut off and been dumped with, I guess. Especially because I had one box set to get, and I was waiting for it to come back into stock, and that's the Innsmouth Conspiracy Investigator box, and it's not anywhere. I've emailed Fantasy Flight Games, I've emailed Asmodee, still waiting to hear back from you guys. In a desperate attempt to get that one box without paying £200 or more and or getting it in a different language that I can't read. It's a real shame, but that doesn't put me off the game. The way that they've sort of like dealt with the end of chapter 1 and getting rid of it, it doesn't put me off the companies, and I'm as excited as any fan of Arkham Horror that chapter 2 stuff is coming out. I've been looking at the roadmap. I've been following a lot of content, sort of the big name channels that cover Arkham, and listening to everything they've got to say about the new cards that have been revealed and everything. Yeah, the 2026 is going to be the year of Arkham for us, I think, because we have spent this year just really getting stuck into it, and to jump in on chapter 2 now and see what all the new stuff and all the new changes are coming is going to be very, very exciting. But that announcement and all the content that followed was a massive, massive highlight for November. And I can't wait till next spring to start playing it. And now it's that part of the video where I talk about my top 5 games of last month. Just a reminder, this isn't my most played games. This isn't my most highly rated games. It's just 5 plays that were a very fun experience, either because of its first impressions or because of the fun that was had at the table. So let's get stuck into number 5 on the list. Is a game called Ice and Idols from Inside Out Games. This was sent to me by the UK Board Game Review Circle to cover, and it's a pick up and deliver game, which I honestly don't really enjoy those kind of games that much. There's a couple maybe that I'll sit down and play. So I was a bit nervous about this one, and then I opened it up and was completely wowed by the production quality of the game, from the sort of plastic covered Lazy Susan that you play on, to the artwork on the player boards, the dual layer player boards. Dual layer's always a win. So the game basically sees players on a 5x5 grid of these clear tiles that have like routes marked on them that can either be like one edge to one edge, or 3 edges, or a complete cross that gets you going in any of the 4 directions. And the aim of the game is to travel around this icy temple, and underneath the board, underneath the Lazy Susan, you can see through, there's certain symbols for either where idols can be picked up or where they can be inserted into to activate one of their 2 abilities. And you're racing around trying to get this done to trigger an end game, which is done via this separate board that all players share, which is a set of research tracks. And there's a research track for each of the 5 idols. And when 4 of the 5 have been completed, that's the game end. But the pick up and deliver has a really interesting aspect to it, where when you pick up an idol and you're carrying it around, and at the start of the game you can only carry one, you then get to where it needs to go on the symbol underneath the clear plastic Lazy Susan, and you make a decision then and there. You either cash it in to put one of your cubes on the matching idol's research track, and that can get you a couple of bonus points. It can trigger an event that can change the board state, or you can use the idol once to insert it into the slot on your player board, dual layer player boards, and there are 5 of these that will unlock certain abilities. So one will give you an extra action. You normally get 5 actions per turn, and like moving 1 square is an action, so you're kind of spending your turn trying to maximize your efficiency of using these 5 actions to get where you need to go and do what you need to do. So yeah, you could unlock an extra action to take you up to 6. You can allow yourself to carry 2 idols, which is brilliant, and helps you move around a lot faster. You can use an action point to turn a tile, which then can open up routes for you. And it's just really, it's a lot of fun because you're doing pick up and deliver on this changing board state that's constantly having tiles turned, tiles removed, whole rows slid across. So suddenly you went from being there to like being 2 squares over. And the pick up and deliver mechanism on its own is actually a lot more fun than I've had with that kind of mechanic before. And then the quality of the components, the plastic tiles, the meeples, the art on the boards, it all just comes together to have this gorgeous table presence. My one negative of the game is that you, at the beginning of the game, every player gets a single gold card, and they can be worth quite a lot of points. I think there's like 8, 9, or 10 points, and you get 2. You choose which one you want, but they all refer to where your cube placement ends up being on the research track. First of all, I think this is unnecessary on everything else you're doing in the game. I think this single gold card, because a lot of games like this as well, you maybe start with a gold card, like Wingspan, but you can use actions to gain more ones. So that might be a route you take, is I'm going to get a lot of points from completing gold cards. But this one, you just get 1 gold card. That's it for the whole game. So I see it's kind of pointless. But also for us in a 2-player game, you block out the bottom 2 rows of this research track, and I'll try and get an image up. But not all columns are created equal. So the middle one is the tallest, and the outside ones are quite short. And in the last game we played, I ended up in a situation where my wife placed a block before I could get to it, and that 1 block space meant I could not physically, no matter how I rotated my card, because you can do that, it doesn't have to be exactly as is, I couldn't complete my card. And it was a 10-point card, so I was just like, I just threw it down and said, I can't do that anymore, so I just didn't bother focusing on it. And I lost the game by 10 points. So yeah, that one part of the game with the gold cards, I don't see as, not just because I had a bad experience with it, I just don't see it as being any point on top of everything else. Everything else works fine as it is, and I absolutely love it. And after the first play, my wife was like, we need this game, so it might be a potential for a purchase, addition into our collection. I know there's been some criticism over the plastic pieces themselves. When you get the game, it can be quite difficult to put them together without breaking the plastic. So I'm a little nervous about that. But I have a feeling this will probably end up in our collection eventually. I'll be sad to see the review copy go. But that's Ice and Idols. Next up is a game called Covenant from Devere. This was a game I was really, really looking forward to from the moment they unveiled the second box cover artwork and an image of the components. I knew I wanted to add to the collection. I didn't even know much about the game. Sometimes you just get a hunch. And this is, I just heard the word worker placement. I was like, I'm in. This is a game where you are using your dwarfs to basically do a whole bunch of actions. Explore, you're recovering your mountain fortress, a lot like in the Hall of the Mountain King, but without the polyominoes. You're using your workers of different strengths to carry out actions. Everyone has the same 4 actions. But this is a game that reminds me a lot of the White Castle in that you have 12 turns across the whole game. 4 turns per round, 3 rounds. And it's a game where you might not be able to do anything on your turn, and you have a very basic action. Like in the White Castle, when you just reluctantly go to the well because you've got no resources left, and you know it's a cheap turn and you're not going to get much from it now. So it feels like a poor move, but you need to do it. And this is a game as well where taking that action is great, but if you can do it and it's got a bonus gem on it and that triggers something else, and then the action flips a tile on the board that does something else, and then it moves you down a track and you're able to gain an item or something like that. It's one of those games that the more you play it and you'll learn to really do impressive turns, you'll really maximize your efficiency to get the most out of it. And it's a game where Devere have done it again, where they've added a token that you put in a certain slot on your board, and it gives you, if you cross 100 points when you're around the board, and then another one for 200 points. And we finished our first game and we're like, is this a joke? We're never going to get this good at it. But White Castle was the same. You play it enough, you become efficient at your turns. You get good at chaining things, and I think it's a thicker version of that. But yeah, I think the more you play it, the more you'll just click everything together how you want it to do. And on a production level, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I love the colours, I love the artwork, I love the components that are their own little puzzle to cram back into that box when you finish playing. Let me tell you. Enjoy that, everyone. But yeah, Covenant was it was good to finally play it after wanting to try it for so long. And our first play of it, we actually played our friends' copies. We played their copy, so 4-player game for our first try. And the learn, I mentioned on the podcast, the episode was on earlier, but just the experience of learning that game with 3 other people who weren't getting stressed, who weren't getting irritated or struggling to grasp things. We all just clicked and taught that game well together. It was fun experience. So that's why it's kind of a highlight game for me for this month. But yeah, definitely try out Covenant if you can get a chance. The next game on my highlight list really surprised me. So we've played Wingspan for a couple of years now, and it's good, but it's kind of gone a bit stale for us. I have my own issues with it. But then obviously Stonemaier Games started releasing other versions. Here's a dragon version, here's a fish version, and I just didn't want to get involved in all that. But my brother-in-law got a copy of Wormspan for his birthday, and he was keen to play it, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll learn it and I'll teach it. So we played just the adults. We played a 4-player game of Wormspan, and oh my god, it's so much better than Wingspan. I really like the changes that they've made to the game, and it's making me contemplate shifting our pretty nicely upgraded version of Wingspan. We went in for the 3D printed resources, and we've got some nice wooden player trays to hold all the cards. We've spent a bit of money doing that game up, but I am very close to thinking we should just get rid of Wingspan and replace it with Wormspan. It's so good. I love that you are in control of how many actions you have on a round this time to a certain degree, because certain cards can get you more actions, but also you can spend the coins that you use for actions on things, meaning you might have less turns that round. Genius. And then the whole having to unlock a space on your row before you can then put a dragon card down is great. The card powers are a lot better. I loved everything about that game. The board in the middle, I forget what it's called now, but there's a board. I'll put the vid drop now. But you move around and get little bonuses as well, and you can kind of, when I first saw it, I thought that was just something where you just, I moved around that one square and I got an extra bonus. But I started planning turns to make sure that I was going around that thing because I needed the bonus to then do something else on my next turn. The artwork, I love the artwork to this game. I can't praise Wormspan enough. I've only played it once, and I'm hoping, because we're seeing them over Christmas, that we might get to play it again, because I really, really want to play it again. I can't justify buying it at the moment. But yeah, Wormspan, if you've been on the fence about thinking you don't need it because you like Wingspan, try Wormspan. I think you need to try it. It's really, really good. Try it. So the penultimate game on my top 5 plays of November is Frostpunk, which I talked about earlier on in the video. So we had our friends come over for a miserable cold gaming day, both in real life and in theme. And me and my wife played the game 18 months ago, our first play of it, and we hadn't got around to getting to the table again. It got to the point where we needed to relearn. It was quite heavy. Paul Grogan's video is an hour long, but it's what you need to watch to learn the game. But yeah, you have to try and find a time for both of us to sit down and watch an hour game and then get straight into it. Anyway, yeah, it's we've only experienced it at 2-player. It was fine at 2-player, but a 4-player, again, as I said earlier, every player having their role in the team, having the boards that they require in front of them, it just made everything click. These are the same people we play our games of Nemesis with, and later on we played Dead of Winter with them as well. But this was just such a fun experience. Did we win the game? No, of course not. It's our second time playing this. How do we ever think we were going to beat this game? One of our friends, she plays the video game a lot, and I think she was really enjoying the kind of nods to the game and certain things that sort of replicated well between what she's used to seeing and what the cards were talking about and stuff like that. We ended up losing because we had a child die, and at the point of someone dying, you have to then you have to give up one of your character cards that has like a little, on the bottom there, little punishments. So you can either get rid of the cards in your hand, which limits what you're able to do later on, but you're in control of what the punishment's going to be, or you can go crazy and draw from the deck and just take what's given to you. But it was at that point that we learned that the punishment for children is identical across every single card in the game. So we were like taking ages to choose and that, and then I said, oh, there's none of them got like just losing one child or something. And so we took the top card and it's like, oh, okay, there was no way we could win this. And it gave us 2, I forget what the track's called now, I'm really sorry, and you'll be probably saying it in the comments, but it's with the red and the blue tokens, the sort of the hope and whatever the negative is, but it just put 2 tokens on and we just lost the game. So yeah, we were under no illusion the entire time playing that game that we were going to win it, but it was just a fantastic experience of our engines are working together and the decisions we're making and the arguing for child labour over don't use children for digging out snow. It's not very nice. We did the child labour law. We needed the extra hands. What can I say? But yeah, Frostbite, and I hope I don't mind if the guys that came around to play with us want to play it on a, I wouldn't say more regular basis, but like with Twilight Imperium, where people play, they get together as a group like once or twice a year and just play the game as that group. I wouldn't mind if they wanted to come around again like once or twice a year and we just had like a Frostpunk day, because that was a real fun experience, even though it was a miserable negative everyone dying experience. It was still really good. So yeah, Frostpunk was a really, really good game. And my final favourite play of the month is going to come out of left field, and this is a game called Tricky Landing by Huff No More, the people behind Sakana Stack. This is a trick-taking game with a slight twist that just elevates it above any other small card game that I've played in the last year. So there's a lot of trick-taking games on the market at the moment, and every single one is trying to do something different to make it stand out from the crowd. There's a lot of bloated mechanics on what is historically just a very simple game. But Tricky Landing throws in the mechanic of throwing the cards onto the table. Now, this sounds crazy, and when it was first introduced to us by GetIntoGames and Mrs. GetIntoGames, I thought, this is a bit silly fun, and then we'll get on to the next serious game. And the first time I threw a card onto the table, I was just blown away. And I was lucky that Huff No More were able to send me a copy, and we've played it with our friends since. It's just so much fun. So, trick taking, somebody plays the first card. That's the trick for the round, and you have to play the matching suit of cards if you can. If you can't, there's also the trump card, which beats everything. And if you can't, you just have to throw a card away. So say someone plays hearts, then you would have to put a heart card down if you had it in your hand. But with Tricky Landing, there's a target card in the middle of the table, and you have to, first of all, if you're going to be first player, pick the card you want to play and then throw it to land on that target. To count, it has to be on that target. If you put down a yellow 7, someone then has to beat you, has to throw a yellow 8. If they haven't got any yellows, they can take whatever the trump suit is, and they have to then throw it to, and it has to land either on the target. No, it has to land on your card, but I mean it can land on it by millimeters. Just if it's touching the corner, that's now the leading card. It's so good. And then that's all it needs to be, but no, there's more. If you throw a card and it doesn't attach to the target or anything, that's fine if you're the only person to miss. But if more than one person misses, those cards go back to those people as negative points, -2. Let me just clarify, each card you win is 1 point. Each card you miss is -2 points. But if you're the only person to miss, it doesn't go back to you as negative, and that card becomes the trump suit. So you can tactically, as the last player, look at your hand of, maybe you've got mostly blue cards, and you've got a blue 1, and you're like, well, I'm not going to win this trick on reds. I haven't got a trump suit. And you can just throw it over there. It's so good. I'm sorry. It makes me smile every time I think about this game. We're going to see some friends next year for a board game day, and they love trick-taking games, and I can't wait to see them try this game. So I am going to be shouting all about Tricky Landing. It's just so much fun. And the artwork, I believe the designer got his kids to design the artwork. It's just clowns. It's adorable. I love the artwork. So Tricky Landing was a surprise hit, and it could have just been a one-off, and it was a single fun experience. But we played it again since, and it remains super fun. And it's one of my new favorite games of all time. Tricky Landing, Huff No More. That's it. I can't stop talking about it. And there we go, another recap video. That's my November 2025, all the highlights and awesome games we have played. You can follow me on Instagram @alwaysplayblue, and also check out the website alwaysplayblue.com, where I do weekly reviews and monthly blog posts. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. We'll keep you up to date with all the videos coming out. And until next time, enjoy your gaming. And I highly recommend checking out some of the games I mentioned today, because they are all pretty fantastic. Yeah. Seriously, check them out.